Mic'd up.
Could there be anything worse than that? Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast with your host, me and him. That's Mike Miller, the ugly guy on the other side. And here's this great looking guy, Adam. Ready to be happy? Ready to talk Yankees. I hope you are too. All 8 of you or 6. It's always funny how 8 is the number that we always seem to lie on. It seems to feel right. It might be fewer, most likely is, certainly is not many more, but I would say it's close. Would you say
Hey,
it's 8?
last week our YouTube page broke a record for us.
Because you were on it?
No,
That was
Phil.
your solo? I saw your solo show and had one view, and I'm sure it was your mother.
No, it was Joe Osty. Same thing. My mother, Joe Osty, same thing. Hey, so for those of you who may or may not be listening or using us to put yourself to sleep, please leave us a message by using the microphone on the bottom of the page. And you can leave us a 30-second message, as many 30-second messages as you would like. Ooh, what was that thing? Kramer making his thing. So we are here post trade deadline, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Yankees moves or lack thereof, depending on your mood, and some of the things that Uncle Brian Cashman said yesterday.
Yes.
Which cracked me up. Did you hear the interview he did with Michael Kay and Peter Rosenberg?
I heard the other one that he did on Dan Le Batard.
Did he do the same DJ LeMahieu Juan Soto comparison on the Dan Le Batard show?
No, he didn't. It was. I didn't hear that one. Tell us about it.
All right, so they were talking to him about what happens if the Yanks can't sign Soto, or they, what's the situation? And his answer was, well, we picked up DJ LeMahieu when he was a batting champion and, at the prime of his career, one of the top hitters in the league, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to sign him. And, it's the same thing, but we got to try and win every year. But the fact that he was comparing DJ LeMahieu, as good as he used to be, to Juan Soto was rather interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think what he tries to do with that, he always has to justify all of the great deals that he does. I've never seen somebody who just can't admit that it wasn't a great move. I don't think the DJ move was a bad move. I think it looks bad in hindsight. At the time, he was a little bit older, but he was coming off these great seasons. I liked him. He had a lot of he does have similarities. At that time, there was a window where he was a line drive machine, up the middle, over second base, always going the other way, driving the ball every time. But as I've said, until last night, he hasn't shown any foundation anymore, and that's because his feet are gone. So if you hurt your feet enough, we talk about legs, but if you don't have any feet, you don't feel confident in rotation. It's got to be hard to create the kind of foundation to hit.
I would argue, DJ, his last couple of years in Colorado hit 301, 348, and won the batting title, 310 in 2017, and then 276 in 2018. And then the Yankees picked him up. So he appeared to be on the downside when the Yankees got him. And then he made, obviously, the resurgence and won a batting title and hit 360 one year. Whereas you can't argue, and Soto's 25, whereas DJ, when the Yankees got him, let's see, DJ was born in 1988, and they got him in 2019. So he was already 30 years old, 31 years old when the Yankees got him. So using DJ LeMahieu and Juan Soto in the same sentence was a little bit of a stretch for me.
No, I think that is crazy, but
not to mention the fact that Soto, his last couple of years, last year was his weakest year. Well, no, I guess his weakest year was 22 when he came over to San Diego. He didn't play well when he hit 236 for San Diego and he had 246 for Washington before the trade. But last year he hit 275. He had 109 RBIs, 35 homers, led the league in walks, had an OPS of 929. So,
Hmm.
I think that's pretty damn good as a 24-year-old. And to compare him
Yeah.
to a 31-year-old DJ LeMahieu was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But he did admit the Yankees tried to do more when he was on the Michael Kay show. He said, but you can only do what you can do. He didn't go as far as the newspapers did in talking about how they had a deal for Flaherty and the medicals. He didn't mention that at all.
He's been saying that it wasn't that, probably because they don't want that to get out there. I would say he doesn't want it to get out that this guy might have a problem, because I'm sure is there a HIPAA violation? I mean, it's somewhere you're not allowed to talk about this stuff. So
Yeah,
you
and
know
also if
maybe
he
he's
doesn't
just being
get hurt,
decent.
and if he
Mm.
doesn't get hurt, the Yankees medical staff looks like idiots.
Yeah, so it's better to just say, we couldn't line up because there's no way to confirm or deny thereof. You know.
Right. And then
So
you had somebody like Kramer who was talking about what did the Dodgers give up for Flaherty. They
mm,
actually gave up Trey Sweeney, who the Yankees gave to the Dodgers in either the Gonzalez trade or the Ferguson trade, and
both
Tehran
bad.
Lozano, who were not actually the best prospects that the Dodgers have.
Mm-hmm.
Lozano, I guess, was the number 8 Dodger prospect, but they've been trading away so many prospects. And Sweeney was the number 22 prospect for the Dodgers. So, I mean, but he came from the Yankees organization.
Yeah.
Um, did they give up? Not a lot. If you think about it, who were the Yankees number 8 and 22? They would have had to give up probably somebody um, along the lines of Lombard Jr. or um,
Jones.
Arias,
Yeah, but
who
they
were
probably pushing for Jones. They were. So that
right. But
was
that was the Yankees aren't giving up Jones for anything at this point. They can't.
no.
So if you look at the Yankees prospects, the number 8 prospects is Henry Lane, who's a pitcher in rookie ball, is 20 years old. He's 6'7", 211 as far as his size. And then
He's
they're
only
27.
211 pounds at 6'7". He must be
Well, he's only
built
20
like
years old.
you.
He'll fill out. And then the other guy happens to also be a catcher, Egglene Perez, who jumped into the top 30 just recently for the Yankees. He's also on rookie ball. He's 18 years old. So that would be the equivalent. Could the Yankees have given that up? Well, Lane was a guy that was invited to the prospects game
Hmm.
and pitched in the prospects game during the All-Star break.
Yep.
So, and
I don't go with that though. I mean, I know what you do. You do that all the time. You apply some kind of equality to you know teams' top players in trades.
yeah,
I don't think that's the case. I think the Yankees always get taxed, and
oh, I
so
do
he
too.
has.
I think I absolutely agree with you. I think the Yankees do pay. There's a Yankee tax. I think there's usually a Dodger tax too, but in this trade, that doesn't look like there was. Um, so we'll see what happens.
I just don't go. I mean, I think you're doing it, and I see why, and it's a good idea because it's the only thing we got. But I would bet that the reason that deal didn't get done was because they wanted somebody like that. They wanted Jones, and they weren't going to give him up. So they lose out on the deal. They felt the Yankees were probably desperate, which they're not for a starter. I mean, sorry, they're not desperate. They're desperate for a closer, and this is what annoys me that they didn't do anything to fix that. Unless you think Mark Leiter is going to step in and be a closer. It's not
Now, Mark
happening.
Leiter is exactly what we've seen over these 2 days.
Yeah.
He's got balls of steel, but
Uh-huh.
he is, he's a hittable guy.
Yeah.
So
And so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's not talk about what they didn't get. Let's talk about what they did get. So it started with Leiter. Funny that never was even. The Yankees do this a lot. He always seems to find somebody. Is anybody ever right in the media about the Yankees? I mean, do we ever? Is it even worth listening to? The news. This is a club. We should do a show looking at the history of bad calls by these guys. Now we have the worst of all, which was the Aaron Judge trade to the San Francisco Giants. Sorry, guys.
selling
Sorry
him,
for
signing with the Giants.
yeah. What?
He was going to sign with the
That's what
Giants.
I mean. It's a signing with that didn't happen, but that who was that? Who did that?
Was
Wasn't
that
Burrow.
Heyman?
Heyman. Heyman. And, didn't take nearly enough heat for that, I think. But it was that was pretty bad. But, I think that a lot of times these guys just don't seem to talk. They don't seem to have any pulse on what the Yankees are doing. The only one who seems to is is are the Yankee guys. But they don't even talk. They don't even seem to be right in at this point. I mean, it's just upsetting that they seem to we're always spend a lot of time spinning our wheels looking at this, and then in reality, he goes with something that he always seems to find something that is out of the box, and that's good. Maybe that's good for him. I don't know if they gave up very much for Leiter. Um, I
Allegedly,
did.
they didn't. Allegedly, they didn't. Neely was a guy whose name I brought up actually in the last couple of shows because he's a closer at the low levels of the minor leagues
Mm-hmm.
um, for the Yankees, and people were grading this, and they were saying that Cowles is a 24-year-old prospect. He's okay, and Neely is good with a
Mm-hmm.
13.6 Ks for 9 innings. Um, but those guys are double A and triple A. Cowles has a 848 OPS, which is good, but he's a double A. So, and he wasn't really that high on the Yankee list anyhow. So they didn't give up
No.
much for Leiter, and I don't know Leiter's contract situation, but I would bet he's probably free agent. Oh, he's
Now
controllable. Take it back. He's controllable through 26.
that's good. That's important.
Yeah.
And also, as for um, Chisholm, you know, I, this is one of those things where it's a guy comes in, never been around a winner, I guess. I mean, his team's all right. Has had a couple of moments where they were pushing towards playoffs, but it wasn't going to happen. Um,
They made the
he's got
playoffs.
an opportunity.
Hey, they
Hmm?
made them last.
Did they make them? Well, they,
Yeah.
they lost in the first round, though, right? They lost
Yeah.
quickly. But I mean, this is something very new. Probably the opportunity to be a difference maker for the Yankees, and he's got a position every night somewhere. They're going to need him. If he can play third base, that's very surprising. By the way, he's getting a lot. Uh, Boone is getting a lot of props for that. Yankees Boone, whatever he does.
What choice did they
But
have?
hmm,
What choice did they
what?
have? But the
That's how bad it is. But now with I guess they're feeling that DJ just doesn't have the feet anymore for third base. They're going to put him over at first more often than not this year, and he'll just do a platoon with Rice.
that
But
would be ideal.
but Chad, he seemed comfortable, and I guess he's a shortstop by design. So maybe that's he
Yeah,
looked very smooth on the throw to
baseman.
first.
He's a second baseman. He wasn't that good at second base. He was a decent center fielder. And he's a good. Obviously, he's much better athlete than you and I'll ever be. But
Yeah.
what did the Yankees give up? Well,
Or anybody. Well, this bothered me a little bit because this is a guy. They talked about this guy, Augustine, and we've been talking about him. He's come up a few times in past programming, and I don't. I liked they really hyped him up a lot. So I guess they did it. And then the minute they dump him, everybody says that he had no upside. He wasn't going to stay at catcher, and they didn't need him anywhere else. Well, it seems like they need a first baseman in a couple of years, or in a year, or now. So maybe that's where he goes, and he gets success. But they also said that he was known for his majestic power, and suddenly it's like the Yankees gave up nothing. Right? What do
I
you
don't.
think?
Yeah, I don't know what. You know, he was in. I was looking up his stats, and he was a double A. He's 22 years old. Um, he was hitting 290. He had 16 homers and 260 plate appearances. That's pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
He also had 13 stolen bases. So, his strikeout rate was reasonable. He was a good player. I mean, you got to give up something to get something. You can't, all these guys that have been jumping up and down and screaming, the Yankees need to do this and need to do that. Well, if you give somebody a pile of trash, they're not going to give you gold back in return, right?
Yeah.
So, what you got to give up something. And at the time, you know what? Wells looks like he's the guy, right? So if he's the guy and Trevino's a platoon guy for him or even the backup for him, that's terrific. If you look at the Yankees prospect list, I don't know if they have any other catchers that are out there.
Oh, they've got isn't Lombard? Isn't he a catcher?
No, Lombard's an infielder. They've got that guy
Who's the
Egli Perez that I just talked about. He's their highest ranked catcher. He's 22nd on the list, and 25th on the list is a guy named Engel Fiorina. He's 19 and Perez is 18. You know what?
so they're
That's
years away from catching. They
They're
really need
years
these
away
guys
from
to
getting
do well.
catching help. And
Which is
you know, they've
odd
got
because wasn't Rice a catcher? Didn't they like him as
Rice
a catcher
catcher,
originally?
and Navarez is on the team, but he's
Hmm.
not a ranked prospect. So if even if they go next year with Navarez and Wells as the platoon and let Trevino walk, that's fine. I mean, Wells looks like he can do the job.
Listen, he needed the opportunities. Raking now. I mean, it's impressive what he's
Mm-hmm.
done. And let's see him in the last some of the Yankee hitters in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, look at him. I mean, he's hitting 304 in the last 7 days, and I think he was actually better than that before. Let's take a look at the last 15. He's Yeah, I mean he's batting. He was batting 316 for over the last 15 games. He's got 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. He's walked as many times as he's struck out, which is nice to
Right.
see. On base percentage of 429 in that period of time. I mean the guy is doing it, and the reason he wasn't was probably for the first time in his life he's playing once every 5 days, 4 days
Right.
or something, because he was in some kind of weird ass platoon with
Trevino.
Jose that didn't seem to make a lot of sense because the Yankees would probably face more right-handers. But then again, Yankees face a lot of lefties because they're not very good against lefties.
Which is,
So
all this talk last offseason was we need left-handed hitters, we need left-handed hitters.
that's right. Kramer.
They
How many times has this guy
right,
said to
but
you, "We need a
they left.
left-handed"?
Well, how many lefties did they
Oh,
added?
Schneider. Schneider. We need a lefty. Oh, we need a lefty, man. This is Yankee Stadium. What? Schneider. 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 Sorry, I digress.
But I mean, they added Verdugo, right? And they expected Rizzo to be back. So they had some left-handed hitting that came on board. I'm curious, I'm not digging too deep into the stats, but they didn't perform well when Stanton was out. How many lefties did they see when Stanton was out? And I'd be curious. It doesn't help that DJ's not hitting a lick and that Stanton was out for 30 games. So
Yeah.
that's two right-handed hitters. Trevino is still Trevino. Judge doesn't make a difference, right? Verdugo's challenged against lefties, and Cabrera can't hit right-handed as well as he does left-handed. But Glaber was having an awful season too. And when your three best right-handed hitters, two of them stink, and one of them's injured, you're not going to be able to beat left-handed pitching. But they don't see that many lefties. They've only seen 35 lefties, I think it was, lefty starters all season. So I mean, all
But
right, they're not
I'd say the last 10, probably seen the last 10 of those have been in the last 2 weeks, three
right.
weeks.
So
So they're playing. They're pretty much everybody's throwing all the lefty garbage at them, and then until this last week, they weren't really. They've not been.
Well, Stanton makes a difference against lefties. Yeah, Stanton's hit or miss. He's either 120 miles an hour or 0 miles an hour.
Yeah,
But
you
against
can see
lefties,
it already.
more
He's in
consistent.
the midst of his slump. He's in his after injury slump. It'll be about 3 weeks. We'll see
He had
maybe
three hits.
one or two home
Didn't he
runs.
have three hits the other day?
No, I don't think he had 3 hits. Did he?
Yes, I think he did. Stanton, uh, Stanton had two hits yesterday,
Oh boy.
and since he's come back, right? He is 2 for 9
With how many
with.
Ks?
I'm looking 2 for 9 with 1K
Oh
and
wow,
one walk.
wow. I am surprised and I'm embarrassed to have been wrong.
So he's only played 4 games. What I thought was funny is that played one game and then he had to sit.
Classic. Here's a rough game. It's tired. I'm tired. I got to take a break.
Well, he sat for that one game, and I'm curious. They used Judge as the reason he sat, that they needed to get Judge off his feet, which I don't necessarily disagree. I don't want to see Judge play 90% of the games after playing 0% of the games in the outfield, which is what I was bitching and moaning about. Is you can't expect the guy to run a marathon without training, and by having him DH as often as he did, without having him get in defense, you can't have him play defense every game.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as the other trade, this De Los Santos trade. Oh, by the way, the Yankees got a right-handed pitcher named Thomas Balboni Jr. as part of the trade. I have
See,
no idea who
Spunkle?
this guy is, but I just like the fact that he's a Balboni and he was our first coach at baseball camp.
And it's a wonderful name, Balboni. It rolls off the tongue. I just love it. Balboni. It's a perfect announcer's name.
Oh, and I will say,
Speed.
as you're talking in your little Latin accent, I will say this to you. I listened to the entire game yesterday on the radio on Tuesday while I was playing golf.
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Ricky Ricardo is
Lucy,
fantastic.
I'm
He is
home.
he is fantastic as an announcer.
He's ridiculous. All right,
He
so
he's fantastic as a replacement for Sterling.
I
And
agree.
because he does a good job, you know what makes him even better? He keeps Susan quiet.
She has no answer for these guys. Which is really what's funny is she has no role in the booth right now. It just doesn't work anymore. So it almost feels like a one man booth. And the other day, I was coming home from the Cape and
Mm-hmm.
a nice 4 hours. So I got to listen to the last 5 innings or so of the game, and I couldn't believe how great that ninth inning call was. He
Oh,
called the LeMahieu play at first base,
yep.
uh, the Torres play. He called it beautifully, and he's got a good voice. He gets going. He's pretty emotional. Screwed something else up a little bit later on, and Susan had to fix it, which is kind
Yes.
of embarrassing. But that happens. But yeah, I think that he was great. I don't know if they'll keep him on full time. I wonder if they. It's something we should talk about in the off season. Is will they ever replace her because she doesn't seem to have a it's like having Abbott without Costello. it's like it's like there's nothing, nowhere to go. You know, Costello, he was the star. Abbott was the straight man. She's the straight man, and there's just nowhere for her to go. So it's like, welcome to the Costello, no, the Bud Abbott show.
Yeah. She doesn't bring much to the table. If she was smart, she would walk away
Now,
and give all the credit to the fact that she worked with Sterling for all the years and that it's just not the same and it's time to let somebody new have the job and go gracefully while also giving all of the credit to Sterling and also saying how great these new guys are. But they've got three guys in the mix, right? They've got um, Shackle, who you met
yeah,
at camp.
who we know from camp, yeah, camp
He
guy,
appeared on our show.
and a friend of the show, an FOS.
And they've got Ricky Ricardo, and they've got that one other guy. I don't know who it is. I forgot his name. Emilio something, I think it is, not Estevez. Um, but they're all pretty good, to be honest with you. But there's something about Ricky Ricardo. I mean, when his home run call for Chisholm, which he doesn't have a home run call, but the call he made on the home run that he's all jazzed up and he's a Bronx bomber, it was just fantastic.
No, what does he say? He's a Bronx bomber. Um,
I don't
he had a
remember.
good one. He had a good one. It worked.
He he's just
Uh,
fantastic. And yeah,
but
I
then
think
and then at the end, when they win, he goes, "I smell a Yankee win."
yes,
Like,
exactly.
I love this guy. He's good.
Yeah.
I'm
I
glad.
mean,
I'm glad they
he's
have
got
somebody with
character.
a
If he
yeah.
sang Babalu, there might be a little bit of a problem, but how could you not like a guy named Ricky Ricardo?
Babalu.
And if they're going to get him a partner, the partner's name needs to either be Fred or Lucy. Matter of fact, when they take applications, they should say only apply if you're willing to change your name to Fred or Lucy.
Fred, it's me, Lucy. What happened? What happened?
But, I like him as an announcer. Anyhow, so this Balboni character the Yankees got, he's a closer.
Uh-huh.
Not very good, to be honest with you. He's
Not
23
very
years
good.
old, 23 years old, and he's in A ball. And he went to Northeastern College. So he's a Northeastern guy.
This is
Um,
very valuable airtime that you're wasting on.
his college. Well, I wanted to
Oh,
see if he was related to Steve, but he's not.
no, no. But it's getting back to Jazz. I love Jazz. I like him. I like his energy. It's again, he kind of has a little of that Soto thing. He seems to actually be having a good time that none of the guys on that team, do. I mean, Judge doesn't out isn't outwardly, he's not emoting on the field like the other guys do, but but you can tell, especially in the outfield where he's talking to the guys, he's giving hand signals. I mean, he's a good guy. He's happy. He's having a good time winning, playing with the Yankees. But they have a lot of guys that are sort of, you know, dead from the neck up.
Well,
No personality.
the guys that are up and down, right? Verdugo's an up and down guy. When things are going well, he's fantastic,
And that's the
right?
problem. He's like a manic depressive. I'm like, what's happened to this guy? He's a
Rizzo's the
completely
same,
different guy now. Hmm?
and Rizzo's the same, right?
Yeah.
Torres is just there's something missing there. God knows what. And
And
DJ
did you
doesn't
see the
ever
play
look
he
at.
missed last night and nobody talked about? Did you see
Oh
it?
no, they talked about it. Michael Kay talked about it,
The
and
first
he
run?
talked about you have to block it. You have to block it at least to save the run.
I don't understand why he olays the ball. He
Oh,
does this turn, and like he's going for the ball. He has it. There's a lane for the ball, and that's when you step out in front of it and let it bounce off you and keep it in
right,
front of you.
and you
But
gotta block to save the run.
he's sidewinds it. So terrible. I saw it and I was pissed. I watched it 10 times. And I kept noticing the guys who initially weren't talking about it.
The guys
Um,
on the next day on the radio show or after the game on the radio show, Michael Kay went off on it, and he's like, "Look, that's a hit." He said, "But just because it's hit hard doesn't mean it can't be fielded." That's what he said.
yeah, I
He
mean
said,
that's why they're the great. These are the
especially in
best
that situation,
baseball players on earth.
right?
That
And he
is
said,
what
especially in
baseball
that
players do.
situation where if he stops it, the guy can't score.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Right.
he made a different bad play, booted an easy ball, and then made that great play, which then Peter Rosenberg brought this up. Holmes was covering after all the crap that Holmes went through. He was covering first base
Yeah.
on that
Right.
play. Great. A lot of guys wouldn't be.
That really was a great play. That was a great play all around. I don't think that I think Holmes had the hard part of that play. I think it's one of those things where that's where for a ball in that area, that's where um, Torres has to be. He has
Right.
to be
Well, he's going for the ball.
rotating towards the ball, towards the play, and so he just the ball was right there.
I mean, it was right. I mean, he didn't do anything amazing. It wasn't like he had to dive. He all had to do was catch it at his chest and make a good throw, which is hard to do to a moving target, and
Yeah,
make a good throw
true.
to Holmes. And he did. And it
He
was
did.
great.
But Holmes being where he needed to be, game set. Not even maybe they would have lost the game. That was it. Game's
Well,
over.
the game was over.
And
I mean,
then later on, what Grisham did in center field was
oh,
otherworldly. The guy is the best center fielder we've probably seen. I can't think of many other guys that were better than that.
well,
There
Bader
was
was really good before he got hurt last year.
Bader was too, but I always felt that Bader was going to fly into run into a wall and kill
Right.
himself. I always thought he was going to be that guy Bump from The Natural, where he was 800 miles an hour right at the right field wall, and that he was just going to end up face down in the stands dead.
Dead. We'll have to have a funeral. Well, maybe
Know?
that would get them to bring up Dominguez.
All right, can we go there? I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to ask you.
I've been wanting to go there. You just gave me the open. You're frozen, big guy. You're frozen like this. You need
Hold
to
on.
exit and come back.
I
You were
am
frozen.
exiting and I am returning. Let's see if this works. Do you see anything now?
Yeah, I see your screen with numbers.
Am I
Now
back?
there's Adam. There's he back. So
You don't have to. Yeah, go ahead.
my belief, and I sent this out earlier this week. My belief is, look, I don't think Chisholm's the ideal leadoff guy, but for this team, he is the best they've got. I think the lineup should be Chisholm, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Dominguez, and then you go with Torres, the Rice DJ platoon in the 8-hole, and Volpe at the 9-hole. And that should be the lineup every day. Who am I getting rid of? I don't know who you get rid of at the end of the bench. I mean, you can't get rid of Cabrera. He's your only backup infielder.
And he plays everywhere. They can put
Right,
him
and he
anywhere.
plays everywhere. Obviously they went from batting cleanup and leadoff to being released in J.D. Davis and Jahmai Jones. But Grisham, you know what? You don't really want to get rid of Grisham, and you need a backup catcher. So
Mm-hmm.
there is your bench with either Rice or DJ. So the question then becomes, all right, how do you figure out what to do at the end of the bench?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there really is no place for Dominguez, but from a talent perspective, he needs to be on the team. It's ridiculous that he's not. I mean, I haven't looked at what he's been doing since he's been back from the minors. I'm going to look that up real quick, so I'll be disappearing to
And
see
here,
what he's been doing. But the guy is out of control. So we'll see what's going on. So since he's been
so
back minors, it doesn't have his last couple of games where I'm looking. So maybe you can find it. Um, but I mean, so far this year in the minors, he's hitting 385
yeah,
and
he's got eight this season. He has yeah
340 at AAA.
three. He's got a 337 overall, 101 at bats, 18 RB runs, 34 hits. Um, he is yeah, that's overall. So that's all. That's including the initial rehab games. Since coming his major league career, I'll talk about that. But let's see the last three. Last
He's only played like 3 games, but I can't find them, so I'm not going to
what are they
worry
doing?
about it.
What are they doing? So you got to wonder with this guy, what's he do? Why are they babying him like this? Is there something really? Yeah, he's
Unless,
back
unless he still
since
has
coming.
his
Tampa hit 385, 316 at Somerset, and 340 340 at AAA. 13 games. He's got 17 hits in 50 at bats. He's got stolen bases. He's got he's got 8 intentional. No, that's not right. Doesn't walk a lot, but that's not his game.
no.
Uh, and I mean, a very very solid solid stats for a guy who is coming back from a major injury.
Solid. It's beyond salad. Solid.
So they got to
Not
get him back.
salad,
I mean,
but
he's a
solid.
can't miss. I'm just thrilled that they didn't give up on him. I thought they were gonna. I was There was a little buzz that they were gonna do that. I'm glad they didn't. He's their left
No,
fielder next. He's their
very
starting
glad.
left fielder next year, unless you don't sign Soto and then he moves to center, and then you keep and then you put Judge back and right, bring out a new left fielder. What do you think? Are Yankees going to sign Soto? I mean,
I don't know. I mean, they were talking about finally somebody brought up on the radio today Cole's contract, but the Yankees control that. He's going to opt out, and the Yankees are going to have to add that 10th year for 36 million. So Cole's going nowhere unless his arm falls off between now and the end of the season. There is one free agent that's out there that they can pick up that I love, and I've talked about him at the beginning of the year. It would be our friend Tucker from the Astros is a free agent
yeah,
after the season, and he would be a left-handed hitter. He plays left field. He's a good player, if not a great player. So why not just have him be the guy to replace Soto? It won't cost, but they got to sign Soto. It's stupid if they don't sign Soto. It
mm.
really is. It's stupid if they.
What is going on? Why am I making so much noise here?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
so I want to ask you another question. What do you think of the if you had to give it a grade, what would you grade the Yankees? The Yankees
trade deadline.
trade deadline. Yeah,
I think the
they're,
trade deadline for the Yankees, I'd give them probably a B minus, C plus,
yeah.
because they didn't. There was two ways they could have fixed the bullpen. Was one obviously get a closer, but they did add a couple of pieces of guys that are strikeout guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the other way they could have done it is to get a guy like Flaherty and move Heel into the closer's role if he could do it.
And I
Um,
think, do you think that's what's going to happen? We've talked about that before. I think they're going to. I think they're really, because just a few more, he blows a few more big ones. mean, how many blown saves? About 7 this year.
11.
Oh, he has 11 blown saves.
Yeah.
I mean, how many did Rivera get? I mean, it's unfair, but how many would Rivera? Rivera had years that he didn't have 11. He had, I think, 3 years, maybe 2 or 4 a year, maybe tops, and that would be about it for
No, Rivera had, probably 5 a year or something silly like that, but
but 11, and
nothing.
they're still in. They're barely in August. I mean, this
Hey,
is
listen, it,
nuts.
it could be worse. It could be worse. We talked about this right before the show. The White Sox have more blown saves than they do wins. They have 28 blown saves and 27 wins.
We want to say that they are now they've lost 17 in a row.
Yeah.
Um, and they are on pace ahead of the 62 Mets for the worst baseball season in the modern era. If you consider the modern era in the years of division play, I would say since expansion. Let's use that since expansion. Um,
Hey,
that's
Dominguez isn't in the lineup today for the Rail Riders.
he's not in the lineup, or he's in.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Tonight's a night I'd love for there to be. I'd love a late night Yankee game. I'd love them to be on the coast tonight playing at 10 o'clock. I would love that.
You mean
Especially I'm
7
in the mood
o'clock?
to watch. Yeah, I don't know how you guys have 4 o'clock baseball. That's nuts to me.
Oh, it's
Insane.
fantastic. It is the best. All right, there he is.
I lived
Dominguez
out there
led
for a
off
lot. I
yesterday.
remember that.
Led off
Hmm.
yesterday, Dominguez.
Okay, how did he do?
He went 1 for 3 yesterday, but I'm looking for his last couple
So,
of games.
so who do you
So,
think won the? Who do you think won the
well, what did you think the
trade
Yankees'
deadline?
grade? Before you get there, what do you think the Yankees' grade is?
That's about a B. I won't go as high as a C. I thought that they did a good job. I think the Chisholm pickup is a really good one because they might have found a player, a leadoff batter, finally, if they put him there ever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that could last for a while. He also has, of course, only one steal, so we'll see if that's going to be if they're going to. So the problem with it is, no matter where they put him in the order, they're always afraid to steal because they're going to take the bat out of somebody's hand. But that's because they have nobody who's really an electric base stealer. This guy is it. This guy's got that. You know, I mean, he's not Billy Hamilton from those days, but he's certainly faster and more and a better base stealer than they've had for a while. Volpe's very good, but Volpe, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to steal very often. Um, I thought his pickoff was funny. Did you see him get picked off the other night? Chisholm get picked off. Um, the new how we learned how to steal and everybody stole for the last like 700 years. You get down in sort of a crouch and you ease out
Mm-hmm.
and you break off. You know, now they're not doing that. They're teaching this new approach where you sort of hop and run and start your
Yeah.
run in advance, but it really leaves you exposed if they get you if they time it right, especially
Yeah.
lefties because you kind of see it. You time it, you're dead. There's no way you can, because your motion is all
Yep.
over.
Absolutely.
You cannot get back. So it was kind of funny to see. But I like him. I like his energy. I think that was a good move. I like that they got some guys. It seems that this guy De Los Santos that we haven't talked about is a swing and miss guy. Is that a swing and miss guy? He
Yeah,
doesn't have a
both him and Leiter
fastball, but
have
the slider is
strikeout.
crazy.
Oh, 13 strikeouts, over 13 strikeouts per nine. Both of those guys. But
They
De
don't
Los
have
Santos,
that in the bullpen.
right, but I mean they're not they're setup guys and Leiter's eminently hittable, but like I said, he's got brass balls. And De Los Santos has been around for a while, but he's a strikeout guy. It's and he's more consistent than Ian Hamilton, who was out of baseball, and then the Yankees got him off the scrap heap. I don't, I'm not looking forward to Ian Hamilton coming back. I don't think that that's a significant change on the team. Canley scares the crap out of me because he throws 92 changeups in a row, and even his fastball to his changeup, or it's only 4 miles an hour difference. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Tonkin is Tonkin. Weaver is better than he's ever been, but when is the slipper going to turn into, the glass slipper going to turn into a pumpkin? Different things like that. And then Efros, why does he need? He's a one-inning guy. He's had 14 relief appearances on this rehab, and he hasn't been good. Don't get me wrong, but 14
Mm-hmm.
appearances rehab assignment for a one-inning guy is an awful lot. Dominguez,
Yeah.
by the way, is 3 for 14 since he's gotten back from the IL.
All
He's
right.
got
Well, that can change.
2 RBIs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 1 stolen base since he came back from the
Mhm.
IL.
Yeah, and he'll be he'll be fine. They just got to get him back in. What I don't want is I don't want him to get hurt in the minors again. How about getting hurt at the come play with us? And if you're gonna get hurt, do it in the middle. Do it at Yankee Stadium, not in PNC Park or whatever down there
You
in
sound like a
Scranton
New York.
Wilkes Barre.
You sound like a
Hmm?
Jets fan talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, a lot of talk of that, right?
Oh, well,
So
speaking of the Jets, wait, we're going to go to a commercial. There's a new show on the Mic'd Up app. It's called the Rovner Report, and he's joining Mic'd Up. AJ Rovner is a Penn State grad and does some work for the New York Football Giants. He was a
very good.
broadcaster, and he's going to have a show focusing on New York sports. And he thinks he's going to get some really good guests. So I'm hoping that he makes it because it can't hurt having another New York Yankees show. And then, of course, you have your highlights from Lowlifes, the cross
When
section
will he
of
be
pop
on? When
culture
is
and sports.
our friend going to be? When's
Oh,
his
let's
night
see
on
what
the show?
wait, we got Rob Weber right here. Let's see what Rob Weber had to say about the trade deadline.
Robbie from the Highlights from Low Life show here. Regarding the trade deadline, it seemed like there was a lot of activity this year, maybe more than usual, but the quality of player was way down. Teams are keeping their players clearly, and it was just weird to me that Jack Flaherty was considered the prize of the deadline. Let's comment on the lack of availability of any quality players in this year's trade deadline.
Well, that was Rob
Come on
Lannerman.
on. Okay, let's come on. Hmm?
So there was a lack of big names being traded. I mean, once the White Sox took Crochet off and the Tigers took off Skubal, there really wasn't any starting pitching that was out there. Tanner Scott was the
Yeah.
big closer that moved. Um, there's not much that was moved. Flaherty's having a great year, and he was a great pitcher for the Cardinals before he got hurt. And he has a pedigree for postseason performance, and he's on a rental contract, so that's good. But there really wasn't any big names moved. Pete Alonso didn't
Now,
move.
did Garrett Crochet go?
No, he's still on the White Sox.
And
Matter
you
of
know
fact,
why, right?
he got bombed yesterday, so that's okay.
Did you hear the reason why they couldn't move him?
Oh, what an ass!
Yeah.
He's as big an ass as Torres. If I get traded, I am only going to be a starter, and I will not pitch in October unless I get an extension. What an ass!
And
Get to talk
he's
about.
with CAA. You think they would know better? You think that they would
Well,
know
I
better?
mean, I think what was the guy's name? Strasburg. He's afraid of going all Strasburg, right? But Strasburg got the contract before he decided to pitch and blow out his arm. And which is worse? Crochet saying that, where he has a chance to go from historically bad, literally, White Sox to a contender, or Gleyber Torres saying, I'm only playing second base.
You know, that to me was so upsetting, but so emblematic of the mental eggplant that we all know him to be. Um, he he's on his way. I can't even believe they after saying that they didn't bench him. They should have just benched him. It was such a stupid thing to say, and that only these Yankees. Can you imagine if he had said that in the Billy Martin era? If he had said that, hold on one second. My dinner is on. Hold on.
His dinner is ready. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Gleyber Torres was Yankees when they made the Chisholm trade. Asked him, they started talking to guys about what was going to happen with Chisholm. They talked to DJ. They talked to Gleyber. They talked to Grisham. They talked to Verdugo to say, this is the guy we're bringing in. And they talked to Gleyber about potentially playing third base, and he said, "No, you'll get nothing and like it." So that's what that's.
Spalding.
What is your dinner?
No, it's fine. But no, what I think is amazing is that this is a man who has done. He can't play second base. He can't play shortstop. We know he can't play shortstop. We know he can't play second base. He can't play the outfield. Uh, he can't play third base. What's next? Does he want to maybe go behind the plate? Does he like being a designated hitter? I mean, I don't quite understand why he would say that in a contract year. That's going to be quoted constantly. in the next in his negotiations. They're going to be saying, we need you to play here. We don't need you at second base. We might need you. It flabbergasts me that a guy who's already having a season where he's looking at a 1 year, princess contract, prove that you can do it, and that's it. He's not going to get anything long term. That is already on pace for that is going to be that he would say that. It was just, it's idiotic. But the Yankees don't do what they should do: sit his ass down.
What's amazing, right? Well, what's amazing to me is he's so unathletic. He came over from the Cubs as a shortstop in the Chapman trade, and he was athletic. He was thin. He was lean. He's much too thick now. He's just too thick. It's just, I don't care what they say that he weighs whatever he says he weighs, but he's much too thick. He's not athletic, and a guy like, you see him next to a guy like Chisholm. You see him next to a guy like Volpe. You see him next to a guy like Verdugo, even. You know what I mean? Those guys are athletic-looking guys that play positions that require you to be a good athlete. Grisham, built like a freaking cougar. He's just, sleek and ready to go.
Just like you, Mike. You're
even
like
Judge.
That's why we brought you to. That's why we want you to play with us in Monterey.
Yeah, I'm in shape. I've chosen circle. He's just not a good athlete. No. And to be not an athlete, seem to have bad work habits during games. I have no idea what his practice habits are. Can't speak to them. For all I know, he's the best practice player in the history of baseball. Can't imagine it. But he looks lazy and lackadaisical or unfocused at best. And his baseball IQ is clearly not the best.
No. Base running is the worst. I mean, his idea of base running is to run until somebody tags you out. Run until they tag you out. That's it. It's like remember running bases as a kid?
Oh, I love running bases.
And that's how he plays. That's his method of base running, and hope that nobody gets it and that somebody throws the ball away.
So I do want to say something about the Yankees offense the last couple of days, because they did win 5 of 6 on the road and scored, 9 runs for so many games in a row. I'm a little concerned and, trying to get ahead of the curve here. Saw a couple of things from Glaber and Volpe that were a little concerning the last game in Philly. Mm-hmm. And we saw this earlier in the season, and we were ahead of the curve as well and when we both saw this in the beginning of the season. Their butts are still in the third base dugout. Mm. They're back in the third base dugout. They both got hot, and the Yankees started winning. And now, they did both get, 1 for 6 for Torres yesterday, and 1 for 5 for Volpe yesterday. But what's amazing to me is, I'm a little worried that these guys are going to go back into the slump. They started hitting and they started over-aggressive swinging, which puts their butts and their hips opening up early and their butts in the third base dugout. And I don't like it. Yeah. Whereas Stanton looked like he had some great at-bats. I mean, he took 3 of those breaking balls away low that he usually just waves at silly, and he took them his last at-bat, mm-hmm. and then ripped a single. So
he's 2 for 9 since coming back. I mean that's fine.
Right, but at least he looked like he had an idea up there, which most times he doesn't. Yeah. So, but Torres and Volpe scare me because they need them for the offense to have any length.
I think that and I understand why you're doing that. I think it is, but I think we also have to look. It's in the last 5 games, Volpe's hitting .321. His on-base percentage is what, .321. So, he's obviously not, he's not taking a lot of walks. He's got 6 strikeouts and no walks in that time frame. He's got 2 stolen bases, which is very nice to see. And then, of course, you're right. You've got, where is he? Where is he? Oh, Torres. So Torres, the last 5 games, is back in, or the last 7 games. I think he's in a slump. I think he is the one to worry about. He's got his usual strikeouts, walked a couple times. He's got the RBIs. I think he had 1 good game in there where he had a couple of hits that were important. But, this is who he is. 281 on base percentage. I mean, it's just that's not going to get it done.
OPS plus is 88.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
So
hey, good news for the Yankee bullpen. Nick Birdy was activated off the 68
I
day.
liked him. I thought he did a good job.
Yeah, but they sent him right down.
Yeah.
And they moved Cody Petit to the 60-day.
All right, so he's done for the season. And then,
yep.
So
Marinaccio went down so they could activate De Los Santos.
What is his story?
De Los Santos?
Is he hurt? What's his name?
Who?
Mariucci?
No, he just sent him back down. He was up for the one game, and De Los Santos, to activate De Los Santos, they needed to send the guy back down, and Birdy went down.
So one thing we should look
at. If I get one more guy talk about the other Birdy, the infielder, as being an answer, the guy is a 230 hitter. Yeah. I'm sorry, he's not the answer.
I liked. He's also, for a guy who's a speedster and he seems to have a lot of leg injuries. It's like, okay, not a good sign, and it's certainly not going to make him faster when he comes back. As we've learned, when you come back from a major leg injury, you rely on your legs. You do not feel you're not quite the same guy. You come back a little bit tentative, and that's not going to be a good fit. So see him as a one and done Yankee.
Yeah, that's by the way, that's John Bird.
Yeah. So
one thing, and Rice has been, since he hit those homers, he's been slumping. Although he has some good at bats. I'm not, Rice doesn't strike out that much. By the way, Wells' strikeout percentage is less than 15%. It's closer to 12%. Wells' K rate. That's pretty damn good.
I want to bring up something that my dear brother, another friend of the show, Steve Schneider, if only he could learn how to get onto the show, we would have him on more often. He does have a problem with the technology. He doesn't like the computers, but he did bring something up because he is a smart man. He said Yankees have a wonderful schedule ahead that might very well be an important factor in this season. They have a much better schedule. Play a lot of games at home. Which normally would be a major thing. They haven't had quite a season at home that they usually do. They've been better on the road. But they've got a lot of home games in the next month. I know I'm going to 2 of them, at least. They have a lot of games against bad teams. They played all of the good teams in the West. The only teams that they're playing, the only teams that concern you, they play Cleveland. Again, Cleveland's pretty good, but they have a lot of bad games.
Well, they play Texas. This road trip this homestand, they play the Blue Jays.
They always give them a good team, but they always give them a hard time. They always give them a hard time.
Well, look, the Rays tanked. They traded away everybody, and the Yankees don't have the Rays anymore this season. Yeah, so that's an advantage for Baltimore going forward. But this real homestand is the Blue Jays, the Angels, and the Rangers. Then they go to the White Sox. So they've got the White Sox, the Angels, and the Tigers. Then they get the Guardians, the Rockies, and the Nationals.
These are all bad teams except the Indians and the Rangers. I don't worry about any of those teams.
The Cardinals are trying to win though, and they're in a race.
You have to think there's an advantage. This is a good.
They've got 2 series with the Rangers left this season. The Royals are a good team. They're left on there. The Red Sox, they have another 4 games. Obviously, they have the Orioles again in September. They've got the Mariners. I think their schedule is not as easy as your brother thinks. Yes, they've got the Cubs, who God knows what their deal is. And, of course, my favorite, where I'll be missing one of my games, they have the A's September 20th, 21st, and 22nd here in Oakland. But they finished the season. I mean, they literally finished the season with 3 against the Orioles and 3 against the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. And then they open up against the Pirates next season. Have you heard about that?
A lot of it's whatever.
Talking about going and seeing that. That would be a fun series.
I'd like to see that.
Good place to see a ball game, I hear. So anyway, I don't know. Are we done? Do you have anything else to say?
No, I mean we talked around circles. We seem to have the mediocre student grading for the Yankees in the trade deadline. We're happy. Chisholm's not a superstar, but on this team as a supplemental player, he's going to be very good. They're relying on Stanton. We seem to both be upset that there's no place for Dominguez unless they're just waiting for Stanton to get hurt again. And Ben Rice has got to start hitting, and so does DJ at first base.
DJ 6 RBIs yesterday. Was it lucky, or was it a sign that he's finally getting his feet down under? Because that's really what it was.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens with my prediction that Volpe's going into a slump, and we already.
I'm not ready to say Volpe yet. I think you're right. I think Glaber is a human slump. All Glaber has to do is hit a home run, and he slumps immediately after because he tries to pull everything. He immediately goes against what I'm sure the coaches have been teaching him since he was 7. That if you hit the ball the other way, you get 300.
He gets hot and he hits the ball all over the field, and then all of a sudden he stops because he puts his ass in the third base dugout when he swings, and I just don't get it.
Let's hope
it's
good things to come. Would like to see one thing I really want. I really am interested, and I think we should keep an eye on this for the next couple of weeks. Are the Yankees really going to go into the home stretch and then hopefully a long playoff run with this closer? Is he going to do it?
Choice. There's no other option.
Maybe not. Maybe this is where heel becomes,
Well, if they decide to pull, I think it'll be hard for heel to go from starter to closer. Ideally, they would have picked up a Tanner Scott, moved heel to the pen to be the Michael King 2-inning guy a couple times a week. That would have been great. Leiter and Weaver and Holmes setup guys would have been great. I know Kramer wants a lefty out of the pen. The Yankees think Canley's like a lefty, which Canley could be like a lefty. He's just not good. We'll see what happens.
All right, let's hope.
I mean,
let's hope for good things.
But Efros would close. Who knows? All right, so we'll see you next week on My Three Sons. Thank you to our 3 listeners for what was not exactly our most exciting show, but we covered a lot of information.
I actually have an interesting thing happening. I'm going to a Yankee game on Thursday in 2 weeks, or next Thursday. So I don't think I'm going to be on the show. I think we might have maybe a live Yankee Stadium event.
Okay, and I'm going to Vancouver. So I will have you set up the show, but I'll be on the show next Thursday.
And I think you're going to be doing it. Maybe you need a friend. And what we'll do is we need to get another
friend. I have no friends, so I do need a friend.
Yes, you need a friend desperately, Mike. If ever there was somebody.
And we will have a live remote show the first Thursday in September. We will have a live remote show with many guests.
Yeah.
From Monterey, California.
Great. That's going to be that'll be a great show. But next week, I would like to dial in from the stadium. So maybe we'll have a moment where we can make that happen.
Are you going with any of the guys?
No, it's my son. I got seats from the CEO of Corcoran. Gave me a welcome to the firm. Gave me their box seats. So I'm going to go sit down there. Not the Legends, but very close. So we'll have nice seats, and then it's Thursday. We'll go with him, and maybe we'll do some fun stuff at the ballpark. We'll see. We'll talk about it. All right. And then everybody, it's for all 9 of you, or 7 or 5.
No,
we got a new member. 2, just the 2 of us. We're talking to each other. How nice that would be. What a waste of air. But anyway, it was.
That we'd have to have a phone call, and you know how much we both hate that. So I will say, since most of our listeners are in prison, good luck in prison.
Be careful. Please be careful. Thank you.
Bye.